I've been wanting to really interview this agent for a while, wanting to get to know her. She's been in the business for a good amount of time, has a lot of experience, uh, does great business, and I think overall just an interesting person for us to get to know. So I'm excited. So welcome, Maggie De Alba.
Thank you. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks, Maggie, for joining. And this will be recorded too, so we're gonna put it up on our page. But Maggie, let's just first start off with this. I mean, tell us. I mean, take us back to just. I mean, where did you grow up? Just tell us a little bit about your upbringing here.
Well, I was born and raised in San Pedro and in the harbor area, San Pedro, Carson, Wilmington area. I went to grammar school at 15th Street School in San Pedro. I went to Mary Starr junior high and high school, and then I ended up at Banning High School in Wilmington.
Okay, so growing up there, and you've been in the South Bay for some time now. And at what point did you decide, okay, real estate will be a good path for me?
Well, I had a lot of different changes in my life, and I think many of us have experienced those types of phases and changes. I was in the entertainment industry for many years. I was a professional dancer, and I had my own dance company. I was studying in Mexico City for many years. And then I got into producing for a small record company in El Paso, Texas, and we worked out of Mexico City as well. It was a different type of a life, flying back and forth. And I have always been a type of person that always wanted stability in my life. And I felt that once I reached a certain age and time, in that during that time in my life, I felt that I needed a change. So I decided to leave the business, come home, and I married my high school sweetheart, which I think that's why I ended up at Banning High School from San Pedro, because that's where I met my husband, whom I have known for 50 years. And we have two sons. My eldest son and my youngest son, you all know, most of you do, is
Yeah,
is Chris, who is married to our MCA, Paige Anderson.
yeah.
So back to that question of what kind of prompted me to get interested in real estate. Well, in 1998, I had just lost my mother. I lost her to cancer, and was suffering the grief that many of us suffer when you lose a loved one, especially your mother. And I had two small children, so I needed something to to help me move forward for myself, besides, of course, the support of my husband and my father and my family and all of that. So I had always been interested in the real estate business industry, and I had thought about it even before I left the country to work in Mexico. But I kind of put that behind to pursue other interests. And then when I returned, I actually had thought of returning to school, actually going back to college, and even thought of getting a real estate law degree. I had thought of that. And then with realizing with two small children and dealing with a lot of different things, actually my husband's the one that said, you know what, I think you would be good in sales. I really do. I'm not trying to discourage you and not going back to school or anything like that, for a degree, but I really think you would be good at it. And so, you know what? I went forward with that. And in 1999, actually, I ran into an old friend of mine, an old Landmark Realty Center agent, which previously was owned by Gordon Inman from LA Harbor on Western in Rancho Palos Verdes. And I ran into a friend, and his name was Ruben Acevedo. And he introduced me to, I'm sure most of you know, Angel Estrada, who is still at the Western office. And he was a Landmark agent. I went in, and of course, I was nervous because I hadn't been in the work industry for a while, and I had two small children. And I interviewed with him, and he said, Maggie, he goes, I need a transaction coordinator. Would you be interested in handling my files? And back then, I mean, our files were in no comparison to the way they are now. We didn't have all the disclosures and all of that. So I decided to work for Angel, and Landmark at that time, they just embraced me. I met a lot of wonderful agents. Sal Sorrentino, of course, our broker at the time was Gordon Inman, friends, and between other agents, and one of my special mentors who is no longer with us, her name was Elodia Villanueva. She kind of took me under her arm, just like Angel did and other agents. And I got into the business, and I actually got into the business, got my license in 2001, I believe. I was working all that time from actually 1999, 2000, 2001, and then I finally decided to get my license, and I've been in the business ever since then. And absolutely, I'm very grateful to my clients, my family, my husband, all our associated agents, and all those who have done business with me and I have been able to collaborate with. So that's kind of my story.
Yeah.
A lot of things happen in between. Um, I've enjoyed it the most because it has enabled me to spend time with my family. I am a mother of two, as I mentioned. I have two daughter-in-laws, and I also have a grandson. So it has helped me. I think it's up to the individual how you choose to run your business. Things were different back then. We didn't have all the technology. I mean, when I came into the business, I had a pager. I didn't even have a cell phone. So that was in 1999 when I first got interested in the business. So that's kind of like my short story.
Yeah, there you go. The pager, and you got to always make sure you have some change in your car for the payphone.
Oh my goodness, geez. Those were the good old days. I mean, these days are
Oh
good
yeah.
too, but I mean, those are that's my story. That's how I got into the business. I just kind of just started as a transaction coordinator.
And at what point did you make that jump into going into sales? Because I mean, as a transaction coordinator, I mean, were you getting paid an hourly or a salary, or was it per file? How were you?
I actually was helping Angel, who is till this day a very good friend of mine, and I do consider him still as a mentor because we still share ideas and things like that.
Yeah.
Friends like that, you just never forget. You never forget where you came from and how you got started. So it's a very deep emotion that I have. It wasn't. I was paid per transaction, and he was helping me and training me. Actually, I was kind of more like an assistant at that time. And then one day, another agent said, Maggie, I think you're really good at this. You have good ability to communicate with people and other agents, and I think you should get your license. So that's when I pursued to get my license, which I was licensed in 2001.
Okay. And what was that like? I mean, was it scary? Were you excited? Were you nervous about that transition?
Oh, I was a nervous bird back then, trying to manage two small children. And back then, um, I worked part-time for Angel and going to the real estate courses and things like that. It was different. We didn't have the online courses. I went in person and I did multiple seminars in the Orange County area. And my husband was very supportive, and we were lugging the kids around. So it wasn't that easy for me, but I did have a lot of support from other agents and from my family. But it was tough. I was fortunate to pass the exam the first time. And right after that, I got into the business and had a lot of support. And I did start off as a part-time agent because my children were very small, and one in preschool and one, excuse me, one in grammar school. And we lived in a small area. It was a development that was built in 1997. And we lived there. So I just started door knocking and handing out cards. And I was lugging my kids around. And then I started mailing out. And that's where I first started getting listings in that certain area, which is still there, located in Carson. And that's how I really did get started. My first year, I was very blessed. I had multiple listings, and that's really how I got started. And then before you know it, you get into other avenues of networking and just people loving. I call it people loving.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're definitely a very personable person. I mean, and for those of you that have spoken to Maggie, you feel like you've known her for a very long time within the first 5 minutes. Then tell me a little bit more about that first year. So was it just you mentioned door knocking? Was that really like your main lead generation source? How did you do it? Like, what did someone tell you just go do this and you just tried it out? What was that experience like?
Well, what actually happened with me was I had no computer skills. Okay. I think I may have had a cell phone at that time. So, I was attending all the offices, all the courses back in the day. Sal Sorrentino and Gordon Inman, they used to teach classes in person there. And I would go every Wednesday to the office meeting and classes. And that's what I felt was the easiest option for me as a mother with two small children, was to start in an area, in a small area, with my basic skills, which was nothing, because no computer skills at all. Um, I just made some little cards, had them printed out, and started networking with my neighbors and talking to my neighbors. And then before you know it, I got one listing. And then I also had a Christmas light and decoration contest. So that's really what I boomed in that area. I mean, I started listing um, very often in that area. And what I did was I had first place, second, and third place, and I had all the neighbors come to my home for. I am of Mexican American descent, and the holidays are very important to us. So I invited all our neighbors, and they came for Mexican bread and tamales and chocolate, and they came, and we all walked around and judged all the Christmas decorations. So that was very, very helpful. That was a kind of more of a personal thing for me. But first, I did start off with the door knocking, then it went to the Christmas decorations, and from there, it went on.
Hey, you know what, Maggie? I mean, I preach this a lot. If you really want to go heavy on listings, you got to start farming. What you essentially did is you farmed, you door knocked, but you also made a name for yourself with an event or with a contest. And this is something that I think everybody can do, right? So we talk about doing these sort of things. I mean, what would you say? What would you advise to an agent that's like, oh my goodness, Maggie, that's such a great idea. I mean, how do I get started with doing a Christmas? I think it's a brilliant idea, by the way. How do I get started with that?
Well, I would definitely find an area that is manageable, that has turnaround. You definitely have to do your research. I do suggest that, especially the newer agents. I know the mature agents know that they should have good communication with their title officer, which my title rep is Rana Luna, the Luna team. Definitely have a good relationship with your title company. Research certain areas and don't overwhelm yourself. Select an area, a farm that is manageable. That farm that I was managing at that time was less than 100. So it was very easy for me, local for me, and easy for me because I had two young children at the time. But I definitely feel that that would be the number one step, is don't get overwhelmed. Stick to basics. You do need to door knock. You need to introduce yourself in person. That's very important. So in order to door knock, remember, if you don't see a face and you don't have a conversation, that's not a lead. That's just a knock on the door. So they don't know you. And I think what made me successful in that little farm was that I was able to communicate with the homeowners there, and they became my friends. And then one thing led to another. That's how I started in that
Was it
area.
just, I mean, help us through that conversation. Was it just knock, knock, knock? Hi, I'm Maggie. Wanted to introduce myself.
It actually was.
Yeah,
Yeah, just
which I think
very
is the
simple.
best.
Yeah, and honesty, and people know when you're new, believe me, they know. So what I did was I knocked on the door and, hi, I'm Maggie, I'm your neighbor. And I just wanted to let you know that I have a real estate license, and I would love to represent you if you ever have a need to sell or buy. I'm in your neighborhood and I'm close. I'm at arm's length. close to you.
Yeah.
And whenever you need me, I am available. And I just kept doing that and kept doing that and kept doing that. And then I started with one listing. And then after that, that's when the contest came. And you keep the contest very simple. Mine was simple. I had signs made. The area does have an HOA, so I did, of course, have to get permission. They were all for it, and I had really lovely prizes and a nice gathering in my home, and that's how I took off in that particular area at that time. But you do have to have a conversation. It's not like, I mean, don't just knock on the door and leave your card there. That is not a lead. And
Yeah.
I know many of us do that because we do get tired. It is a lot of work. It is. It's not easy. That's how I got started.
I always judge a good door knocking session by how few doors I ended up knocking on. Meaning, if I knocked on just 5 doors that day, that means I had 5 long, good conversations, as opposed to I just dropped off flyers at 100 doors.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I love that. So, did you do open houses as well? Because I think a lot of new agents are like, "Hey, let me just do open houses."
Yes. I was, a very basic person with limited skills at the time. I must say, after all these years, all the technical education we've had and everything has changed. Obviously, it's a different industry. I am, like many others, are in a different position. Um, I did do open houses, and there was some agents back in the day that took me under their wing, like I mentioned earlier, and let me do their open house. And then I started networking, and then after the open house, I realized if I didn't follow up, or at least get a few. Back then, we had a lot of people coming through, and most guests didn't at that time didn't actually have agents back then. I feel it was a little bit easier to be able to hold on to a buyer versus in today's industry, because everybody has agents, everybody has a cell phone, everybody has Zillow and Redfin, and everybody has an agent in their neighborhood and in their backyard. So I feel it's completely different from when it was when I started in the business. It was a little easier, and always, I my first buyer is the one who really actually helped me move forward in the business, representing buyers as well. Whatever you put in to this trade, because it is a trade and it is a business, whatever you put in is what you're going to get out. We all have different goals. My goals is family, my husband, and my business. Obviously, there's other teams much larger. It depends on what you want and what works well for you in your life, and also being healthy. That's very important, and being at peace, and always make sure that you make the right decision. And we're not perfect. We all make mistakes. We do, and that's why we have brokers and we have team leaders now that can help us navigate those certain situations. But back to that, I kind of have the tendency to get emotional with all my little stories here. Back to um, the open house. I do suggest that new agents do open house, but understand that they need to work those areas. So if you're going to do an open house, you do your research in that area. You get the recent sales. Get familiar with those recent sales. Get familiar with agents who work those particular areas. Talk to Rana Luna and Grant. See what the turnover is in at that time. Look at the listing that you're doing open house for. You need to know if that property is listed property or overlisted. How many days has it been on the market?
Yeah.
Talk to the agent. Talk to the agent and say, you know what, I really want to do open house for you, and help you get into escrow. But are you pursuing a price reduction? When are you pursuing the price reduction? Because if you have a property that's been on the market, let's say 60 days, and sometimes that happens, and there's no price reduction, you need to be able to communicate with that agent and say, are you pursuing a price reduction? Because those are leads that you are looking forward to and that you need to work with, and you need to know how to work with them, but you also have to do all your legwork. Try to door knock that area prior to your open
Yeah.
house. Pass out your flyers. And when I say door knock, and I'm being really honest, sometimes I was so exhausted. I would just leave my flyer. And sometimes we still do that today because there's only so much you can do because the industry is very demanding. But door knock that area, pass out your flyers, try to get some phone numbers, try to call your neighbors, maybe say stop by for coffee before open house, things like that that make you stand out. But most importantly, open house, you need to know your area and make sure you have good communication with your agent and find out if there's any other offers that have been submitted. And if not, why? What's the situation? What's going on with the property? That's how I
Well,
feel about open house.
well, Maggie, I mean, I can already tell you, I mean, from what we see of agents, they're doing about this much work on an open house. I can already tell you, you did about this much work for every open house.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah. You didn't just show up there, set up signs, and hope that a buyer walks in. You did a lot of
Right.
prospecting before that. I love that.
Yes.
Now, Maggie, look, I mean, with all signs show that, you are not only successful as a real estate agent, but as a mom, you've got kids that are no longer kids anymore. You made it through that phase of raising young kids as a mom, as a business owner. We've got parents on this call now that are doing the same thing that you did, that you went through. I mean, what are a couple of things of advice of like, for example, how did you balance it all? Some challenges with that, with being a mom and being a wife and doing all that while juggling your business. I mean, were you getting writing offers at midnight? Were you, well, tell me about that experience and what got you through it.
Well, actually, yes. I was writing offers at midnight and 1 and 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Um, well, when I first started and I was doing files, my husband, of course, we would alternate with the boys, and my husband would come home and I would go to the office and work on files for Angel at that time. So I was working those early hours, and my husband did help me. I really am a very basic person and still am. I believe in calendars and you have to time block. I know there's very, sophisticated ways of time blocking and Google and all those different things, but mine was a notepad. And my notepad was everything was down for the day of what I needed to do and how I was able to alternate my family life with my business. And at that time, I was growing, I was learning, and I still am growing and learning because, I don't know if I've reached my capacity at this age and these years in my business, but there's always room for growth and there's always room for knowledge. But it was not easy. It wasn't. And I think now with all the tools and all the classes, especially the online classes, it is so much easier now. Back then we didn't have that. Back then you went to, in person, and I can go on and on and on with all the courses that I've taken and have gone to. Um, but it was not that easy. But when you make up your mind that you're going to do something, you do it. You just have to set your goals. Don't set too many. I'm not
Yeah.
that type of person. I'm very basic. I'm not the type that's going to set 20 goals. I'm going to set 5 good, strong goals and complete those goals. That's the way my life is, and that is how I actually live my life, and I feel very comfortable with that. But to say it was difficult, yes, it was. It was difficult, especially I didn't have a computer at home and I'd have to go to the office.
Wow. Okay. So now we have no excuse. We've got computers in our pockets.
Exactly.
We've got no excuse. Okay. So anytime you had to, write an offer or look up something, you had to go to the office.
I went to the office at that time. We all had, we didn't have our private offices at that time. It was just kind of open for all the agents, and some had computers and some didn't. There was some office computers at that time, if I remember correctly. So that's basically how I did, and it was a very basic file, and a lot of work involved. There was a lot more legwork back then because you had to search for all of that. You didn't have it on your cell phone. And at that time when I first started, I did not have a computer. Of course, shortly after that, I did get a computer and I had to learn how to actually turn it on. So times have definitely changed.
Well, there you go. I mean, look, no excuses out there, guys. I mean, I love hearing these kinds of things because, I mean, juggling life as a wife, as a mom, no computer, back then with just a pager. I don't know if you did what we did, we put it on our clipping it onto our belt, or what if you guys know about that, and you just I mean you telling yourself you weren't that technologically skilled, but you know what? You had yourself. You walked around, knocked on doors, had conversations with people, and I feel like there's a lot of times we miss those basics.
I believe so, and I think the basics are really important, especially for new agents. I've been very blessed. I have worked the way I have wanted to work. I'm very happy how I have conducted my business. I'm very grateful, as I mentioned earlier, to my clients, my 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 family, my husband. Very happy to say back then, when we were Landmark Realty Center and our broker Gordon Inman transitioned into Keller Williams. That was I believe it was in June of 2025. I did join teams with he's no longer with us. His name is Mike Tedesco. We became the Mike and Maggie team, and that was in 2005. And we were very blessed to actually reach at that time. I think we were double gold at that
Nice.
time. Yeah, and he did pass on, and I did try to experiment with with other agents, other associates. We're not all made for one another, and we're all still good friends. But sometimes you can be a friend with someone and not do business with them. But I worked after that for years by myself, and now actually we are the South Bay team, and of course my daughter-in-law.
Yep. Yeah, I was
Um,
just gonna get to that too. Yeah, of course.
yes,
I
and
talk to her every day.
you talk to her more than I do. So, but now we are the South Bay team, and we've had our struggles. I have had my struggles when I was formerly the Mike and Maggie team, and then Maggie De Alba, the South Bay team, which we've been working together since I believe 2018. When Paige graduated from Chapman University, she's brilliant. She's a broker. She's wonderful. You know her. I don't need to brag about her anymore because everybody loves our Paigey.
She's one of the
Uh,
few that I know that has a degree. I think she minored in real estate.
yes, she did.
Yeah,
Yes, yes,
including Gary Keller. Those are the only two that I know.
yes. So we are just starting off our new year, 2026, and working on our business plan and trying to navigate our business together. As she's our MCA and also a team member of mine, a business partner actually. Um, and we're trying to get going. We do have uh, quite a bit in our pipeline, so which we've been working on since last year, and we're looking forward to a great year. And it's always a great year. Just always remember, if you have if you have business, you have to work your business. You have to love your business. I know you've all heard this, you plant the seed and you grow. That's absolutely the truth. And every year is going to be good no matter what. You can have a bad real estate market, but in a bad real estate market, that's when you become your strongest. That's when you learn. That's when you get back to basics. That's when you start rediscovering yourself. So I have navigated through all of this, and with thanks to brokers that I have been collaborating with throughout the years, and mentors and coaches and other agents who have been my friends for many years. 2026, no matter what anybody says, is going to be a great year, but it is what it is, and whatever you put in it is what you're going to get out.
I love it so much, Maggie. I mean, this was a real treat for me to be able to sit and have a conversation with you. I mean, wasn't that inspiring, guys? I mean, the things that I heard here, and the Christmas light competition, guys. If none of you guys are stealing that idea, like you should be ashamed of yourself. Do that. Start planning that right now for this upcoming Christmas.
And it's really good. It's pop. I always used to do a lot of pop buys. My pop buys were very simple, okay, and I would treat them as a farm. I still do that. And I really think that cookies are natural things are good.
Yeah,
A cookie with love, a heart cookie, or anything like that, simple, stick to the basics. We have a lot on our plate with our technology and all these different things that we do. Our business is very, very expensive. Choose to spend your money wisely. Be frugal and
smart advice.
be frugal and be true to yourself. Set your goals and do what you can do. simple checklist. If it's not checked off, you didn't do it. Don't check it off until you finish
Yeah.
it. That's the best way that, works for me. And I hope it's helpful for everyone.
That's great advice, Maggie. I love it. Thank you so much for doing this and taking
Of
the time
course.
early in the morning. And let's give it up for Maggie, guys. I mean, super inspiring. That was awesome, and I learned a lot too. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you guys, everyone else, for being here, and have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I'll see
Our
you at the
pleasure.
office
My
soon.
pleasure.
Thank you,
Okay.
Maggie.
Okay, guys. Take care.
Oh, we're
Thank
getting a lot of
you.
great feedback.
Ah, that's cool.
Thank you, Maggie. Have a blessed day.
It's my pleasure. God bless you all. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll hope to see you soon.